pharaohs. So we learned a little bit about Egypt. We learned a bit about its situation, the types of things that we were looking at, and we also learned a little bit about the pharaohs. Can you remember the artifacts that we're supposed to look for next 2-3 weeks time?
Yes. The
shoe.
Yes.
Everyone remembers the shoe. Okay, so the ivory tag and the hat. And Tutmosis III with the hat and half a beard that got broken. Yeah. He's the face of the NGV poster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the picture is, so when we go on if we go on August 11th, we'll be able to see those two artifacts. So today's session is going to be talking a little bit more. This is again the second exhibit second section of the exhibit at the museum. We're looking at Egypt and the world beyond. So it's talking a little bit not only about Egypt as the country, but its influence in the region. So we're going to be looking at that and how the pharaohs influenced that, the people around the location. So today's presentation is Fred is going to tell us a little bit about the story and use the story to illustrate what the influence of that is. So that's going to be really exciting. And then we have 4 more sessions, which I'll talk about at the end. But we have some every Friday evening and Saturday morning for the next couple of weeks, and then we go to the museum on August 11th. So if you have not already signed up, there's the QR code to sign up for the museum, or else you can talk to myself, or you can talk to May afterwards. She's helping us to book the tickets together for the group session to the museum. But I would like to invite Fred to come and present the second segment today, talking about a story that helps us to understand a little bit more around Joseph, which is I think the character in the story.
Yep.
And a little bit about the impact that he had around the time that he lived on the pharaohs and also the world around us. So thanks, Fred.
Yeah, thank you, Daryl, for introducing me. So the topic today I'm going to talk about is called Joseph and his influence. Why we use Joseph as a character today, you will know in a minute. So just a little bit introduction about from the exhibition. It's on the NGV website. I'm just going to read it out for you. So with its strategic location between the rest of Africa and Asia, Egypt was part of a complex world of trade and exchange and attracted many foreigners who traveled and settled along the Nile. So if you look at Egypt, it's in the middle of different continents, yeah? Africa, Europe, and Asia. That's the central point for a lot of people to visit, to do trades. So it has a great influence at that time. Defending Egypt was a central duty of the pharaoh, yeah? Obviously, yes, that's a focus of pharaoh. While some kings sought imperialist expansion through military action, others pursued diplomatic alliance with their neighbors through the exchange of gifts. Political marriages were another important aspect managing foreign relations. Despite these efforts, Egypt frequently suffered periods of civil war, and Nubians, Persians, Libyans, Greeks, and Romans all ruined country at different times. That's the introduction of Egypt from the exhibition, from the NGV website. By reading about it, you know Egypt is quite influential at that time. It has a central location, and a lot of people will just go there to travel, to visit. And then today I'm going to tell you a story of a person called Joseph. If you have read the Bible, Joseph is a really famous character. In the ancient Egypt, it was a really rich land. You can see a lot of building architecture at that time. By looking at the picture, you can visualize it. I'm a visual person, so when I see it, I can feel it's a rich, super rich country at that time. Just to introduce a little bit about their hierarchy. So on top is the pharaoh, and then you have government officers, nobles, priests under the pharaoh, and then after that is soldiers, scribes, and then merchants. After that, craftsmen. They would do a lot of crafts at that time, and farmers and slaves on the bottom. So they're on the bottom of the society at that time, at that very time. Okay, come back to Joseph's life. If you read the Bible, Joseph, what kind of environment did Joseph grow up? If you know that, if you read a little bit.
In the countryside.
In the countryside, yeah? Was his family good? Poor? Rich?
Maybe rich.
Yeah, maybe rich. Yeah, it feels like quite rich. And his family, if you read about the Bible. At that time, his family, especially his dad, loved Joseph so much. So his dad almost spoiled Joseph. And then he made a special gown for Joseph to wear, and then which is so different from his siblings. So now Israel, his dad's name is Israel, also known as Jacob. So now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. I'm the only child in the family. I'm from China. I'm the only child. I couldn't understand this concept because for me, when I grew up, I'm everything for my parents. So if they have good things, you don't need to think about it. It comes to you. If they brought a present from far away from their travels, and you don't need to think about it. It all goes to you. And then when they make dishes, you get to choose the best one. You don't need to fight with anybody. You just here you go, the best one. My son ate it. That's how I grew up. But in this kind of family, so I just use my imagination. If the father treat him so well, of course, other people's gonna jealous, and then they're gonna hate him so much. So especially at that time, the trigger point, Joseph had a dream, and then the dream is about the brothers as well, and then they say, you guys are gonna come and sort of bow down in front of me. Like if you hear about that, you get more angry, how can you say that? So the brothers made the plan. So his brother said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually ruin us? And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. At that time, Joseph was only 17. Very interesting. Only 17 years old. And then he couldn't think much. He just expressed his opinion, just said it out loud. And then after that, the plan was, here comes that dreamer, the brother said. Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we will see what comes of his dreams. The brothers were like, yeah, here you go. We're going to make this plan to kill him. But surprisingly, so when the Midianites merchants came by, his brothers put Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to a different, I don't know how to pronounce it, I just try to pronounce it, Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. So he wasn't died, he wasn't dead, but he was sold to a different land, which is called Egypt. This will be the center of today's topic, when he was in a foreign country. How old was he? 17. Quite young. What was I doing when I was 17? I was playing with my friends in school and then escaped from the class. I used to be someone like that. I love freedom, so I didn't like to sit in the class sometime. I invite my friends to go out with me for hiking stuff and buy some fruit. But at the age of 17, he was sold to a foreign land. That was a huge change in his life, yeah? Huge change in his life. He couldn't even become a normal person because he was almost like a slave in the country. From someone so loved by the father to someone like a slave in the country. This is a big change for himself. For him, now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. And then someone bought him. He became the servant of the family. If you think about that hierarchy, he was sitting on the bottom, yeah? He was sitting on the bottom. You might be wondering why we relate him to the Pharaoh. A person on the bottom of the society, and then Pharaoh is on the top of the hierarchy. How can they meet together? Here you go. The special thing comes. The Lord was Joseph, so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. The Lord was with Joseph. That makes a difference, yeah? By himself, he was about to die, and he was meant to be killed. But now he was sold, he could continue living. And now he was serving someone in Egypt. Yeah, this is a hierarchy. But if you pay attention, there's a key point, which is saying, but God is with him. That makes a difference to Joseph's life. He's not conquering the world by himself, but he had the Lord with him. I believe that makes a difference in Joseph's life. I want to repeat it again. The Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. And Joseph, not only living in the house of the master, he also became the overseer of the household because he was so faithful, hardworking at that time. And if you know the story a little bit more, Joseph actually was falsely accused as well. The master's wife, Potiphar's wife, and I don't think I know her name, and she loved Joseph. And then if you pay attention, it's actually quite interesting. Joseph was busy working in the field at that time. He was working. He was ready to conquer the world. Even his life was on the bottom, down there. But Joseph is hardworking in the field. Then the wife of Potiphar loved him so much, and she wants to sleep with him. He refused to do that. Even it could be a temptation. He could just easily say yes. Maybe that's the easier thing for him to say, but he refuses to do anything with her. And then she wasn't happy, and she and then she just grabbed his arm and then just falsely accused him, saying, "Oh, he wants to sleep with me." And in the end, he was put into the jail, which is so hard for him. His life was really hard. He has to work maybe 24/7, who knows. But Joseph, he was ready for the challenge, and he's willing to grow. And he doesn't want to stay in the same place. He wants to grow. The temptation was big. The temptation from Potiphar's wife is big, but he chooses to say no. And now his life is ended in the jail. Not smooth at all, yeah? If you think about his time, maybe he was around 20 at that time. Not easy, and he is in the jail. What he thinks, what he feels, it's not easy for him. And then if you talk about Pharaoh, he's up there. He never thought about he could have maybe a glance of Pharaoh in his life. He never experienced this in his life. But I think the key point was Joseph. The God was with Joseph, and he was ready to take the challenges. And he grew in these difficulties. Not easy for him, but he is taking the circumstance not to give up, not to complain, but also being strong, being someone really strong. You know, when he was in the prison, there was someone next to him, a cupbearer, and also a baker as well. They were talking, and then the baker was killed, and then the cupbearer got freed after a certain period. You know, if you know the story, very interesting. Joseph was asking the cupbearer, saying, "If you come out from here, don't forget about me." But what was the cupbearer do after that? What did he do? He forgot about Joseph. When he left the prison and then got back to his original role, and he forgot about Joseph. If you were Joseph, what do you feel? It's like disappointed and angry as well. And I asked you to say something good about me, and then you forgot about it. I have to wait here in the prison day by day. And here you go, the opportunity came to Joseph because the God was with him. At that time, Pharaoh had a dream. Yeah, all about dream. Yeah, he had a dream before, and then in the prison, he had it. Other people had dream, and he had to interpret it. And now, Pharaoh had a dream. In the Bible, it mentioned about this dream. I just briefly mentioned about it. When 2 full years had passed, Pharaoh had this dream. He was standing by the Nile when out of the river there came up 7 cows, sleek and fat, the big ones, and then they grazed among the reeds. After them, 7 other cows, ugly and gaunt, the very thin cows, came up out of the Nile and stood beside those on the river bank, and the cows that were ugly and gaunt ate up the 7 sleek, fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. That troubles Pharaoh so much, yeah? That troubles him so much. And then, surprisingly, he had a second dream. In the second dream, it goes like this. He fell asleep again and had a second dream. 7 heads of grain, healthy and good, were growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads of grain sprouted, thin. It's similar, yeah, parallel to the cow dream, and scorched by the east wind. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 healthy, full heads. Then Pharaoh woke up. It had been a dream. If you had a dream like this, what do you feel if you wake up?
Quickly write it down.
You quickly write it down, yeah? Any other people?
What does it mean?
What does it mean? You might think, what does it mean?
Yeah, 2 similar things.
Yeah. And what if you can't interpret it? If you can't understand it? If you have to remember it?
You just tell everybody, I had this weird dream.
Yeah. If I were him, I'm like, oh, who cares? Yeah, like if I can't remember, it's just a dream. But that troubles his heart. Like, what makes a dream so, troubles you so much? Yeah, not many dreams will trouble you so much, yeah? But Pharaoh was troubled by this dream. He was like, what? What's this dream about? And then Pharaoh tried to find different people in the country to help him with that, to interpret that. He hired some magicians, he hired some musicians, maybe Harry Potter stuff, yeah, and to come and interpret the dream for him. And nobody could tell nobody can interpret the dream. The Pharaoh was like, that troubles me so much. I need to know this. If I were him, I'm like, yeah, who cares? Yeah. But Pharaoh does care about this dream. It means it's something important. It's something troubles him so much. He wants to know the answer. And here you go. God brought up Joseph's name, and then they were asking about the cupbearer. Remember, the cupbearer finally come up with his name in his mind. It's like, oh, oops, Yeah, I forgot that guy still in jail. Now, yeah, I remember he interpreted my dream before. And then he's a Hebrew man, smart. Now maybe he could interpret your dream. And then now, yeah, Joseph came to this Pharaoh, and then he said to the Pharaoh, I cannot do it. Joseph replied to Pharaoh, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. He refers that to God, who will give the answer to Pharaoh. And God really gave the answer to Joseph. And Joseph came and interpreted the dream to them. That at that time, it was quite prospered in Egypt. It was a rich country. You can tell by this image, a lot of crops and a lot of food in Egypt. People didn't need to worry about much about food. It was a rich country. You think about the location of it. It has that central location that people could just come and do trades. Yeah, it must be rich. But here you go. This is the interpretation of the dream. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt, but 7 years of famine will follow him. Then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land. Here you go. If you hear of this story, if you were Pharaoh, what do you feel then? Will we have panic? Or I might be angry. I'm like, are you cursing my country? Sometimes, yeah, you might be like Joseph. You go there to tell people bad news, and people get angry of you. If I were Pharaoh, I would be angry. And then for Joseph, he didn't stop there. Joseph was a smart man. He was not only providing the fact, he was not only interpreting the dream. He went there to give them solution, to give Pharaoh a solution. He said, they should collect all the food of these good years that are coming and store up the grain under the authority of Pharaoh, to be kept in the cities for food. Here you go, that's the solution. This food shall be held in reserve for the country, to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so that the country may not be ruined by the famine. Here you go. It's good. He was smart, and God gave him the answer. This is the answer. This is the solution. He was not only providing the news. Sometimes you only tell people the news, yeah? But he also provided a solution for Pharaoh. And they built a lot of storehouses for food, and you know what happened afterwards. The land went into famine, and no food, had drought, and no growth. And people were starving. But here you go, Egypt has no problem. They opened the storehouses for people to take the food, to buy the food that people actually need to buy the food. At that time, when other countries are struggling, Egypt still had this prosperity. You can see in the market, like people could still buy food, could still have sufficient food to supply, which is very interesting. Yeah, this young man wasn't too young at the time, maybe around 20-ish, but he was quite smart, yeah, to provide that solution. If you were Joseph, if you think about it, if you put yourself into Joseph's shoes, will you do the same thing? Were you able to do the same thing? Even you want to provide a solution, were you confident to do that? You were a prisoner on the bottom of the society. Maybe the whole country is consisted by these two kind of, the labor was consisted by these two kind of people, prisoner and the slaves. Will you be enough? Or will you be brave enough to provide that solution? But he was quite sure about it. That's why he could go there and tell Pharaoh this news and also provide the solution. You can see people around the country came to Egypt to ask for food, including his family. His family came, his brothers came, and then he was quite emotional about it. And Joseph was like, wow, that was my brother. and then they came. Yeah, not I believe not only the people in his previous country came, but also people from the south, Sudan, Ethiopian also came as well to ask for food, because that was the only country stored food in the first 7 years. Quite smart, yeah. By its central location, yeah, you will provide enough for other people to buy as well, to keep Egypt enough and also the surrounding countries okay, in an okay level. That's the story about Joseph from the beginning, when he was sold to now he provided the solution, and he was at a good point because he interpreted the dream, and then the country was in a good point as well. And then Pharaoh gave him a lot of responsibilities of the country. He became the second in charge in the country. If you think about a foreign man from other country now becomes the vice president of Egypt. That's a huge change in his life as well, yeah? But I believe this is not coincidence. And this is not from anybody as well. This because Joseph was ready for the challenge. When he was in the down time, he was still very faithful and very strong on principle. That's why made him able to take the lead afterwards. And he was really he was in power. He was really influential at that time. But his great time didn't end there. Now I'm going to introduce some interesting part. Who is the Pharaoh at Joseph's time? Have you thought about it? So many pharaohs.
It's not Tutmos the third.
Not yeah. Before him, yeah. So I actually did a lot of research about this. A whole week of research about who this Pharaoh was. It's actually quite interesting. If you know the Bible, in Exodus chapter 12, verse 40 to 41, you're gonna find some clue from it. Yeah, the Bible says, now the length of time the Israelite people lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of the 430 years, to the very day, all the Lord's divisions left Egypt. Okay, so that's the Exodus for the people, yeah? And then if you think about this, how do you know the time of Joseph? How would you calculate that? How would you know which exact year was Joseph's time? You know the end point, yeah? When they start to, when the Exodus happens, that was the time of the end of this, yeah? And then just go 430 years back. This is sort of the timeline of it. You can see the Exodus is around 400 BC, yeah, 1400 BC. So that was the time according to the research, according to the literature, and also the archaeologists. That was the time Moses was leading the people out of Egypt. So 430 years. If you go back for the 430 years, back from that time, trace back from that time, which year was that? 800, around 800, yeah, 1850, yeah, 1850 BC, some around that time. So that was also the time Joseph went to, Jacob went to Egypt. Now Jacob is Joseph's dad. It's according to the Bible, 47 verse 9. So that's the time around 1860 BC to 1840 BC. If you do some research, actually there are different pharaohs at that period, different pharaohs. We'll come back in a minute. I just want to show you the timeline of it. If you have, if you look at this chart and this timeline, how do we know 1860 BC is correct? If you use this one to see, from the end of from the time of the Exodus, that was that was 13. I forgot the exact number. Around 1300 BC. And that was the time. That was the end. And we trace back to Joseph's time. This is the beginning point of the 430 years, if you think about it. Because that was the time Joseph brought his dad to Egypt. So that was the time they started to sojourn in the land of Egypt. And if you trace back to the time, to Jacob's time, how many years he lived, and then Isaac, his father Isaac, and also Abraham, that time. If you trace back all the time, so that's about 215 years. So that was the beginning of Abraham's time. That was around 2100 BC. 2100 BC. Nevertheless, it means all the things, if you calculate all the time in the Bible, they actually match to each other. And then you could work out they actually don't have any conflict to each other. According to the Bible, Abraham was born, in Genesis 21 verse 5 mentioned about it. And also Enoch's time, Isaac's time, they all match to each other. So that's just a timeline of how we see, how we trace back the time of that, of Joseph's time. So there are three different pharaohs at that time, at that period. The first one, I try to pronounce it, Sennacherib the second, Sennacherib the third, and then also Amenhotep the third. So these three pharaohs are the pharaohs around that time. But how do we know which one was the exact pharaoh at Joseph's time? I also did some research from some literature and also from the archaeologists. I'm just going to read it out. There's an Egyptian, there are two pronunciations for this, Vizier, known as Anku, who served from the reign of Amenemhet III through to the reign of Amenhotep I in the 13th dynasty. 13th dynasty is not 13,000 BC, 1300 BC. So this Vizier was initially overseer of the fields and was responsible for the construction of numerous granaries. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, if you look at what Joseph did at that time, you could see they actually match to each other. And also, Amenemhet III is credited with the construction of a canal linking the Nile with the Fayum Oasis, a canal that is known as the Bar Yusuf in Arabic, or Joseph Canal. They call that Joseph Canal. Amenemhet III is credited with reducing the power of regional rulers. This aligns with Genesis chapter 47, where the result of the lean years is a significant increase in the power of Pharaoh. So this is highly believed. This king, this Pharaoh, Amenemhet III, is the one at Joseph's time. Very interesting. When I was looking at it, yeah, he has some people, officers in his government who built this canal and who invested in the land for crops. It's really interesting. So this is like, according to the archaeologists, this is highly believed. This king was the king for Joseph at that time. Now comes to this. This is exhibited in the NGV. Do you know what it is? A story, yeah? It's telling a story, yes. It's telling a story.
Not a shoe.
No, it's not. No.
There's a falcon there.
Yeah?
There's a falcon.
Yeah. This is the lintel. The lintel of this king, Amenhotep III.
What's a lintel?
Lintel. It's called lintel. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, lintel. It's the one above the door. If you look at it, yeah. So
Like above his house or
above his house or palace, yeah. It's
beam it says, such as portals, doors.
Yeah, usually it supports the top of the.
on top of, yeah, above the yeah.
so do they change lintels every king?
Yeah, I think it's different. And then I did a little bit of research. This is actually mentioning about his title, but they lost it. They couldn't interpret it. It's symmetrical as well. This one is symmetrical, and then this is his title, and then this is the god he worship or something. Yeah, on two sides. Yeah.
So we'll see this at the.
At the exhibition in the NGV. Yeah, it's big. It's supposed to be big. I don't know how big it is.
It's big.
Yeah,
Right hand side
but-
is
cleaner.
They don't have that, or they do.
These two sides.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
It's like
Yeah.
it was broken and they've reconstructed it, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Mm.
But they don't know the meaning.
They don't know the meaning anymore. Yeah, these two bits. It's characters. They're characters and talking about his title. They believe it's his
This
title.
one here is his name. This here is
It's his name. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that'll be his title and his like where he reigns. But
Mm.
this bit here will be his name.
We can read about it. How they describe it. Yeah.
Also
It's like here, right on top. Yeah.
like
It's-
this way.
I don't know how big it is. Let's have a look. Let's go there to have a look.
Across the top.
Across the top, yeah. But it's quite big. I think it's quite big, but I don't know exact size of it. Lintel. In aging. Yeah, this is the random ones, not his. Yeah. This is a description from the exhibition. I just quoted it. This lintel was originally placed in a temple erected by this king, Amenhotep III. The carving reflects the harmonious, symmetrical folds inside an Egyptian temple. At the center is a cart. I don't know how to say it. Cartouche. Yeah. Enclosing the king's birth name.
That round thing.
Yeah, that round thing. Yeah. This is surrounded by inscriptions that radiate from the center to the sides of the lintel. Names of the king face references to Sobek, the god of the temple, who is depicted as a crocodile seated on a shrine. This is the official description of this piece of art. So we're gonna look for it. Yeah, very interesting. This is another piece of statue about this king. So it's his portrait. Yeah, a statue. His statue. I'm not 100% sure whether this is the one because I couldn't search for all the items from the NGV. But this is one of them in the British Museum. This is the one, yeah. I'm not 100% sure, but it will be similar. It will be similar to this. This is his head, and then I also did a little bit of research. Very interesting.
Big ears.
They have big ears. Yeah. Why they have big ears? They want to see. Why they want to illustrate he is a king, eager to listen from other people. Yeah, from other people. Very interesting. Yeah, if you think about Joseph and himself, he listened from Joseph. He listened from a prisoner. It means he's a king, like willing to learn, willing to listen to advice, suggestions from other people. So we're going to look for this piece of artwork in the gallery. This is the official description of it too. Pharaoh Amenemhet III of Egypt's 12th dynasty was a significant ruler in ancient Egyptian history, particularly known for his investments in farming and water conservancy. He also did different projects in his life. He built this lake called Maurice, and then he built the canal link the Nile and also this oasis as well. I'm going to show you in a minute. And then he invested in irrigation systems and agricultural techniques and mining as well. He was really into mining. Yeah, so big. Yeah, compared to other statues, his ears are so big. That's why, people use this way to demonstrate he's the one eager to listen. Yeah, that's emphasis of. Very interesting at that time because of the suggestion of Joseph. He was working with Joseph. He built this canal from the river Nile to this plain. It's called Pharaoh. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly. Pharaoh Oasis. It was dry land before, but because of this canal, and they got all the water from Nile linked to this plain, and then this plain became fertile after that. Yeah, very, very, very interesting. Yeah, and then because of Joseph, and a prisoner came all the way from the foreign land, and he became the influencer of this country because of his faithfulness as well. Sorry?
You said the influencer.
Yeah, he was an influencer of the country. This is the tomb, the pyramid of this pharaoh. He was also the first pharaoh built 2 pyramids at that time. Because the country was rich, the country was so powerful, he could afford 2 pyramids. So after his reign, after this pharaoh, Egypt became so powerful after that. I checked the peak of ancient Egypt was around that time to 1000 BC. So around 1700 BC to 1000 BC. That was a peak of the whole nation. You can see, I believe Joseph could contribute a lot to this country. He impacted the whole country so much, and then this country became so rich for almost 800 years. And Joseph has made this happen, and he was the one, and with the Lord. Yeah, very, very interesting. So when we go to the gallery, we're going to look for these 2 pieces from this king, from this pharaoh. I already forgot how to pronounce his name. It's very, very hard. I tried many times, but still. English is my second language. It's just be hard. So I just want to, I want us to discuss 2 questions. So when you think about Joseph's life, he was from a foreign land. And do you have the similar experience as Joseph, and your life was difficult? If you're comfortable, you can share that with us. And then do you see it differently now? Do you see the differences now? When he was going through that challenges, and then it might be miserable like other people, but you could also take the opportunity like Joseph and became so powerful and so influential at that time, and he influenced the build of the canal, and then to have a piece of oasis in the middle of desert. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.